time,
No,
Mr. Chairman?
Saturday.
5 o'clock.
Yeah.
5 o'clock, we're going to open the Rules and Legislative Committee. We've got 4 members present, and Mr. Boutwell, I believe, had a doctor's appointment, so he's going to be absent tonight. And it's time for prayer. Let us pray. Our Father, who art the hope of all the earth, remember us in love and guide us by thine wisdom. We ask thee to grant blessings upon thy servants, our county community leaders, our county mayor, the commissioners, our city mayor and councilmen. Bless us with wisdom, goodness, and truth. May law and order, justice, and peace prevail. Defend our liberties, preserve our unity, protect our county. With honor of thy holy name. Amen. The first item on the agenda is approval of the October 17th, 2023 Rules and Legislative Committee minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the public comment period is next, and anybody that wants to speak ahead of time? Okay. But I'll recognize you if you need to when we get on into our business. Okay, the next item is consideration of placing the November 14th, 2023 Commission minutes on the December 12th, 2023 County Commission agenda.
Make a motion, we place those on the agenda without a recommendation.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The next item is consideration of placing the notary applicants on the December 12th, 2023 County Commission agenda as requested by County Clerk Donna Thomas.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The Veterans Report was in our packet. I think there were 54 veterans that were transported to the VA hospitals, and there were 78 office visits. I don't know if Mike, you got any update, or you got anything to add to it?
Well, we're kind of going down now with the number of people for the PAC Act, so that's taking the numbers down a little bit. We're still seeing a lot of people every week.
Oh, good. Any questions for Mr. Roos?
I got a couple things to add, though.
Okay.
We had the Veterans Day Parade, very successful, largest one we've ever had, 64 entries in parade.
Good.
Yeah, it was real successful.
Good. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the next is a clinic report. The October report for the medical patients, I believe there were 147 seen. And I believe the dental report, 80 patients were seen at the community clinic. Any questions or discussions or additions? Yes. Okay, wow. Well, that's good. They're providing a great service there, which we didn't have. Any other discussion or question? Okay, the next is Ag Center. We had the October minutes in there, and then, of course, Commissioner Anderson's chairperson, he brings us up to date.
You know, big news was the tractor. We all know we needed one. Thank you to Mayor Robert Daniel for working with us, but special thanks to John and Jeff Sullivan. They went to that sale. That way they didn't know the county was the one buying it. It didn't jack the price up. So we got it at a reasonable price. The good thing was it was Mr. Mulder. We know where the tractor came from. We know what shape it's in. And it's not been run through 4 or 5 different sales. It has very low hours on it. We also got a front end loader, and I think they call it a pallet skid loader, something like that. Yeah, which will be very helpful out there as well. So I think we were very fortunate to come up with this John Deere tractor. It's in the year 2000 with very low hours, really good shape. And special thanks to everybody, especially John and Jeff Sullivan, because they fronted their own money, and they really did a solid by the county. And other than that, that was our big thing. We had to have a tractor.
Good, absolutely.
And I'll be asking the finance committee, we're going to surplus the other tractor, talk to Robert, and I've got an equipment sale in February where it'll bring the most money. And Instead of going to gov deals, we'll run it through the big equipment sale out here at the Ag Center. Instead of it bringing $500, it'll probably bring $5,000, $5,500, or $6,000. So that will be better, but we'll have to get finance at some point between now and February to surplus the tractor, and then we'll run through the sale in February.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions? Well, Ag report, because that's for information only. Next item is the Joint Homeless Task Force report. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met last week, and I apologize for not giving you minutes yet. I was out of town with my wife until today, and so I will get that to you and email that to you in the next week or so. We had a very productive meeting, lots of good conversation about several things. I did want to bring up, we did have a member request to be replaced. Miss Kelly Smith felt like she was a little spread out with too many committee appointments, and so with that, we were going to replace her with Miss Yolanda Marble, which is the new homeless hub director. So she's with the Family and Children's Services, and she's the caseworker that's working in our county, and I think it's going to be great to kind of tie her into the group to be able to give us some information. So the two main topics that we were able to get to the other night, primarily the first one was our impact in our community, and we had several individuals speak from the crowd specifically on the homeless, and as we gain into these colder months of kind of how they're going to handle some cold weather sheltering and things like that. We have some nonprofits working with the horse show grounds along with some other churches and things like that to kind of work through some processes to be able to help them through that process. And so it was great to be able to kind of see what the nonprofits are doing as well as kind of help connect some of the dots. Last meeting, we did have some conversation about the veterans and the programs that they have that are connected to the veterans. And I was able to, Mike, I gave her your number. So she should be getting in contact with you to be able to kind of tie those two programs together for some of her individuals. The second group is now in the county that are working specifically with single individuals because our first caseworker was primarily for women and children. The next caseworker that's coming in is now focused on individuals, and so we're kind of taking this a piece at a time. One of the main things that came up was a funding thing, and I'm kind of working on that, and I'll be sending some emails out this week to try to find out. There is a program in Rutherford County that they are utilizing that tracks and helps monitor what's going on with the homeless population in Rutherford County. That is tied directly to the churches, the nonprofit organizations, law enforcement, as well as any of the sheltering groups that are in that community. And what it allows them to do is, number one, get clear data. And I think that's what we're trying to head toward is in this county, there's a lot of speculation as to numbers, condition, different levels or kind of situations. What we're trying to do is we're going to try to get some hard data because then we can start making some clear decisions to try to impact certain groups. And so with that, that was a $7,500 program. And so we're going to try to either look through that through some private sourcing, through some grant opportunities. And so we're kind of communicating with some different groups. I'm going to reach out to Mr. Daniel this week just to kind of set the tone there to be able to see if we're not able to get it in elsewhere, to see if we can look at that in other ways. We have had just some absolute great turnouts. We had about 35 people here the other night. And what I love is the community's getting involved. We're getting a lot of great conversation coming from the crowd as well as people stepping up to volunteer. I said this from the get-go when we met. I wanted to keep this out of government as much as possible. As much as we try to do well, sometimes we stifle it. And I think that with this group, along with the nonprofits around this community, is really kind of strengthening together and really kind of working towards a solution. Again, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is something that is going to take many years to kind of work towards. But what I'm enjoying is I love the conversation as well as the interaction, both from elected officials and the community. I think it's great to be able to do that. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Commissioner Hooker? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is under new business. So we have some bylaw rules they were put in our packet, and everything was in red. I know we've had several questions, because there's quite of additions, and we'll let Commissioner Yaki lead us through, and then we'll
Yeah, just
ask
make
questions.
sure that your copy that you have goes in order, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Make sure that in one of them, I know it was left off. If not, I've got some extra ones. Okay, we good?
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
mine looks like it's good.
So starting at section A, the last sentence in the first paragraph is an add-in. Ginger suggested that we need to have the date or the day of when we're meeting, and then I'm not sure what my last sentence is, but that sentence needs to stay back in. But then to add about the inclement weather, so that we know what we're doing. Anybody have any questions about A and B?
So where it says delete last sentence, we're not doing that. We're
Yeah,
marking that out.
mark that out. That sentence, and I probably saw it, is a new sentence in the first paragraph, and it needs to be in there. And I probably saw it underlined, and so we're not deleting the last sentence, but we are adding about the inclement weather. Okay, moving on to C, we've already approved it when we did the public comments. D and E, there were no changes. Section F, reworded the paragraph some and put in there the Robert's Rules of Order, and this was a little bit of this was brought about by the public comments that have to be made during the commission meeting.
Commissioner Yaki, can we go back to C for a minute?
Sure.
What's the reasoning and why 1 through 4 right there? I mean, I sort of understand 2, refrain from attacking a person. Confining remarks to the subject matter under discussion. Is this for a commissioner? Is this for the public? I noticed some
I
of
think
it.
it's F. I think we're
Yeah.
missing
Backwards.
some of that.
We're missing
No,
some of
no,
it?
we're missing some.
Okay, so this must be
Yeah, I believe
section F.
that's
that we're missing.
F that we're
It's section F under
Alright.
the
talking
speaking,
about.
right?
Got
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where the concerns
Okay.
are, I think.
Okay. Tell me what you want to do.
Well, one, if we're telling people that they can't talk or whisper, who's going to enforce that? Walking across the floor. Does this apply to commissioners? Does this apply to the public or to everybody?
This came out of Robert's Rules of Order
Okay.
stuff, but if we can just leave it as all speakers shall follow Robert's Rules of Order and just drop all that other 1 through 4 if you want to.
Oh, that's what I would rather do. I just don't want people, one, who's going to enforce it? 2, the way I read it, it's sort of anti-freedom of speech a little bit to me, though, if you read it the wrong way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
It's sort of that way.
I understand.
And we want to encourage people to speak. I want to hear from more people, not less.
And
Commissioner
answer,
Yaki, I think this only applies to members. It doesn't apply to the public. In the public comment section, they can say whatever they want to. I think Commissioner Anderson's wanting to know how you define, is there different rules for the public speaking than members? And I think there are. I think the public can say whatever they want to, but the members have to refrain from speaking adversely on issues or personality involved. That's stated specifically in our Robert's Rules.
I think if we just follow Robert's Rules of Orders, I mean, that's the same.
Right.
we might ask Chad, because as chairperson, he would be the one who would call somebody
Right.
down, or are you comfortable with just leaving it as following Robert's Rules of Order?
Right.
Okay. Right.
Right.
Being on here for a while, I think we all do a pretty good job for the most part, to be honest
Yeah.
with you. Over the years, we've not really had any trouble, so,
Okay,
that I've seen.
okay.
As an example, if Commissioner Anderson and I disagree on something, I can't say, Bill, you're wrong, here's why Bill's wrong. I can disagree with Commissioner Anderson's position on that,
Absolutely.
and then and that's the way it's supposed to be. And we're seeing more increased loud language and people all across the country attacking people personally, and that's why I think it's critical that we keep this balance here so that we're talking about ideas and discussing ideas and concepts, not individuals and motives and things behind their
I
thought
will mention,
process.
if you don't mind, I want to mention one other thing. The people in District 6 came out great at the city council meeting. We were fighting an apartment deal, and I spoke, and several of my constituents did that never spoke before. And I know we're going to hold people to 3 minutes, but when the city started hitting that buzzer on them, I'm sorry, and Adam, you were there. I mean, it was kind of just, you know what I'm saying? These are your constituents here to speak on something. You got this buzzer hitting them. I hope we never do something like that. And they did it, we didn't. But it was kind of like,
We
really?
got to time them.
Well, I understand you do, but at the same time, they did me that way at the planning commission, but being a commissioner for a while, I knew how to sneak in an extra 90 seconds. Drew, you were at that one. But everybody in District 6 came out for it, and it was well run. It was just, some of these people were nervous. They'd never spoken public before, and it probably took them a 2-minute speech for 4 minutes to get it out because they were scared to death. And then they had that buzzer hit them, and it was like, really? I don't know, I just didn't like the buzzer thing. I really didn't. We don't do it, but I just thought I'd mention it to everybody.
Bill, go back to, now remember, this is under the Board of Commissioners. So this is us.
Okay.
This is the commissioners. This is one of the things that Chad, I think, does, or Mayor Graham does, as chairperson does, confine your remarks to the subject matter under discussion. In other words, you can't go back to 2 months ago and start talking about something. Refrain from attacking a person or motive, refrain from speaking adversely on a prior subject. Number 4 is the one that I should take out because it says non-members of the Board of Commission, and that's.
Yeah, that's why I was asking the other, because when you get here,
Yeah.
it does say non-members of the Board of Commissioners.
What then about the other 3? Leave them in or just follow the
I'd
Robert's
rather just go
rules?
back to Robert's rules, would be my preference.
Commissioner Vick, you
That's
want to?
my permission. My preference is Robert's rules too. I mean, we haven't had any problems.
I
Okay,
think
well,
we put the number that Robert Rules refers to in this, and then you can say Robert's Rule refer to section 4, blah, blah.
okay.
Which is this version.
Yeah, that's where, okay. No problem. Are you okay with my rewording of that paragraph? It's all the same stuff, it's just reworded. Section G, I just reworded that sentence. It was a horrible sentence. I and J are just, well, H and I are just, I clarified the member and membership. Section J, I think the mayor asked me to put this in, and then I may be wrong, Mayor. Or interrupts a person speaking on J. Am I good on through section K?
Refusal to be in order,
Okay,
and Robert's Rule speaks to that
Yeah.
as well.
yeah. Well, section J was in our original bylaws, is why I left that one in. Then on section L, motions, I think I reworded 2 paragraphs or 2 sentences. And when you get down to number 5, conflict of interest, John T., and he said make that one big section because it's so important now. So number 5 completely comes out, and he gave me what needed to go in there. So I typed literally what he gave me to go in.
So section M is conflict of interest, and that's.
Yes. The major glaring thing on that is, like myself and Adam and Mark, we don't read that sentence anymore about conflict of, we have a conflict and we're going to vote in the best interest. That's gone. You don't do that anymore. It's that you need to take care of this up front. declare your conflict of interest, tell the mayor, make sure everybody knows what's going on. So all this in red on section M came straight from John T.
How do you declare that? How do you declare conflict?
Um, hang on.
You declare it. The majority. Okay. Gotcha. Got it.
Look at number 3, Commissioner Vick. This deals with the county commissioner who is a county employee or whose spouse is. And I think that or spouse may be a little bit new, Mayor, on
I don't
that.
have a 3.
Where it says
That's a lot of
conflict
this,
of
we don't have
interest.
it.
It's on mine, so it's not on yours.
No, we don't have it.
It's
You
not
do.
on the- There's not one on the packet, but we can copy one.
Yeah, she's got it. Anita's got it, but I don't have it.
No, I got one at home, I had it, because I copied it off the internet. But
There's quite a few
it's-
typos
need-
in here
keep
too.
it.
I can send you the ones I found.
Oh, they'll clear that up.
I used
Okay,
to,
now,
as a proofreader for 14
need this,
years, it just
Mr.
pops
Garfield.
out.
Commissioner Vick, you see right there on number 3, toward the bottom. If a county commissioner who is voting on a proposed budget has a conflict of interest, they must declare the conflict of interest at the meeting prior to casting the
vote.
members'
Okay,
vote.
so you disclose
Okay.
prior to
I
the
knew
vote.
it was there, I just
Okay.
couldn't find it real quickly.
So if a vote comes up and I'm here and I have a conflict, I declare I have a conflict, but I'm going to vote anyway. If I have
Whatever.
an indirect conflict, have a
Whatever,
direct conflict.
right, whatever is being addressed, whether it's the vote or,
But like the mayor said, if you conflict out, that lowers the vote count.
Right.
Therefore, the majority vote, the
right.
necessary.
And I think we did all that, Mark, when we did the salary thing. Some of you all opted out, right? And so it lowered that
They
membership.
did, and Adam Thomas was one of those as well, that we clarified that he was not passing, he was not voting because of a conflict, so that it changed the vote total requirement for majority.
well, I have one question. Is it a conflict of interest to vote yourself a pay raise?
No,
So it is not.
No, because our pay raise wouldn't affect you
Well-
immediately, it would affect the
the next commission.
commission.
But even in the
But for
past,
employees that are department heads, though, or work for the county, it is. They
It
can't
is.
vote for
Right.
their,
Okay.
right,
yeah,
But
unless
voting
it's,
your-
unless it's bundled.
So the question is, if you're an employee, can
That's
you
the
vote
question.
yourself a pay raise on the commission? That's the question.
That's the question.
Correct, and my understanding is not if they were voting on your individual budget. If the budgets are all bundled.
If it's
Where there's
bundled up.
other considerations within that vote, then you can. That's the whole thing when it comes to budget time about setting the tax rate and the budgets, whether you could split them out or not to split them out
Right.
for
And
people
we-
to have conflict or not. So you can, yeah, you cannot vote yourself. That's the state conflict of
But
interest.
you can call for a line item vote, just to split them out, but it has to be, you have to have the majority to agree to do that.
and they'd have to set out.
Right.
Right.
Then they would have to.
But
sit out.
then,
Yeah, now-
after that, when everything's bundled together,
Yeah.
they're
In,
good to
in an
go.
amendment, I think you could do that. At the time of budgets, according to Charlie Curtis, the budgets can't be split beyond their individual, like general fund. You can split general fund from schools, and you can split schools and general fund from highways, but you can't then like set the ambulance budget outside of the general fund and vote on it. Now, throughout the year, whenever you have, say, a budget amendment, and there's an EMS component in there, and there's a fire component in there, and there's a mayor's office component, I think there you could ask, because those are amendments to the budget. Do you follow what I'm saying?
So it's the sheriff's department, I know is one of them, and it's the school system, right? There's nothing you can do with those two, I believe that's right, sheriff's department and the highway department. The rest of everything else goes into the general, right?
Right, well, the sheriff's in the general fund as well.
Okay,
You
I
just
thought maybe it
can't,
was
you just
separate.
can't cut part of his budget under maintenance effort.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm just seeing that. And I've got that to make that section L, so it's probably pulled from something else. To transact any business requiring a vote, there must be a vote of the majority of the existing Board of Commissioners, not merely a majority vote of the quorum present.
Again, I would say, it's been clarified to me, I don't have it right in front of me, but we can get the information out, that the only time the number of votes is different for a majority, 10 is a majority for the Bedford County Board of Commission of 18, unless there's conflict of interest situations where people don't vote, then the majority would change. Otherwise, whether there's only 10 there, that you would have a quorum for your meeting, but it would take all 10 votes to pass something at that meeting.
So
Follow
if
what
4
I'm saying?
people were absent, you still gotta have 10, right?
Still,
Unless they declare conflict. They
I mean,
declare
let's just
Yeah,
say
that-
4 commissioners are absent that night for sickness or whatever.
It still takes 10.
still takes 10, right, yeah.
Uh,
And that's what legal has told more than once in regards to that.
Commissioner Hooker, that originally in the way back before original bylaws, that was section M. No, let's see. Hang on. That's not right. It was right above section M, number 6. So when I took 5 out, that was number 6. And so, because it really wasn't about conflict of interest, I said, just make it a new section. So all of that was in the original.
I do.
And for things, and I can't pull them off of my head, where you have to have a supermajority, that's one of those circumstances that's either stated in state statutes or somewhere. Yeah. Right. Section N and O and P, they're just clean up. Section Q, Ginger, this is where Ginger wanted this put in here, and it was way over, and Biff may remember, way over in our standing committees was where this section was, but it wasn't called death or resignation, it was called vacancies. But she said there's really no such thing as a vacancy. And so she wanted me to use the words death or resignation of a commissioner. So I moved it from that standing committee spot, which shouldn't have been over there, into the Board of Commissioners. And rules and legislative, if there is a death or resignation of a commissioner, the rules and legislative shall submit a slate of nominees or nominee or nominees. Nominations may also be taken from the floor after submitted nominees is read by the rules and legislative chairperson. This person will serve until the next election cycle. Section P should be removed. It was way back before the 81 Act was put in, and none of that applies anymore. So Section P will be deleted. I think there was a redundant sentence in Q. Jumping down to Section S, county attorney or a designee such as Ginger. I stuck in bylaws. Sometimes there's rules, and it gets confused with Robert rules, but it's bylaw rules is what we're talking about. On Section U, yours may have that red paragraph in twice, but I know to delete it. If it doesn't, you got a cleaned up copy. You're missing which one? Okay.
Under
Well-
parliamentarian.
The only change in it, Commissioner Hooker's county attorney or designate from the county attorney office. And in section T, if you don't have it, it just said all rules not covered, and I put all bylaw rules. And then on section U about compensation, the state law has changed. And so rather than, we were doing it prior to the new commissioners coming on by 0.5% of the county mayor's salary each July. So if he got a raise, we got a raise. And that goes back to the Joe Tillett, Bo Wilson days back in, this probably went in sometime in the late, or the mid 2000s. Now it's by resolution. If you want to change the compensation for the commission, you got to do it by resolution vote. Board of Commissioners may increase or decrease its compensation for its members. Any compensation for members does not take effect until the beginning of the term following the next election of the county commission. After the resolution increases or decreases, the compensation is adopted. And that's what Commissioner Vick said. Whatever, if we did one next month to raise our salaries, it doesn't go into effect until after the next election. Section V, the public comments, we've already approved it. What I want to do next month, and so all I'm asking, if you want to do it tonight, is bless this Rule 1, and we'll move on. I'm not here next month, but Rule 2 is the Board of Commissioners chairperson. You have those copies. You don't have the two through whatever. It is, but I was gonna give it to them early. I'll email it. Yeah, we'll email it to you. Next month, Chad's gonna do the Rule 2, which is the Board of Commissioners, and the 3, 4, and 5. It's like the county clerk, the sheriff. Most of them don't have any changes other than a word change. And then in January, my goal is to do section 6, which is the standing committees, and it's going to take a little bit of thought on it. And then the rest of them are real short. So I'm hoping by January we'll have everything blessed by your committee. Then I'll take it back to Ginger for her to look at and change my wording, or if something's not said right, or should we need to add something, bring it back to this committee for you all to bless the entire document to send to the county commission. Okay. Is that clear as mud?
And I did have, had a question, Linda, on the inclement weather. Used to, EMA had all the employees, text, or phone numbers, and the commissioners, and they would just text them, all as a group, if there was inclement weather and and the county was gonna be closed, or the commission wasn't meeting or whatever. Do we
Right.
still have that ability?
I don't know. Ginger wrote this sentence, so I didn't
Do you
write
know?
it. But
We do
you
send out code red is what we've been using, when we know that we're gonna be closed due to weather. And again, yeah, we work with emergency operators, on that to cross-reference and check that,
Right.
that it's tracking that way. We will talk to other counties. Some counties, though, have prematurely called it for weather, but weather may or may not hit. So it's not an exact science, but inclement weather is reviewed by my team, not just a decision I make on my own. But I believe all of the elected officials agree to honor whatever the mayor's office or the courthouse chose as whether to be open or closed for inclement weather, that all the others would participate.
But Ginger said we need to know who's going to make that call, and that's why that's in there. It's
Yeah.
the
It should-
chairperson
Should be the mayor's office.
or the county clerk
Yeah, okay, yeah.
will make the call as to whether we're postponing it or not. Used to, we went, if schools were closed, we didn't have it or something like that, but that's
But
all got
then we'd never
convoluted now.
be
We
at
never
work.
have a meeting.
Yeah.
So
We get out
I'll
for rain.
email you, or Chad will email that rules 2, 3, 4, 5. You won't, and I'm gonna send out a clean one, cleaning up, was that okay? And then, and all I'm asking tonight is on Rule 1 to bless what we've done and me change it
Let's move it.
so that when we come back, then that one's done. And, so yes, I'll be glad to do that. It may not be tomorrow. I'm cooking tomorrow.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we move this on to the next section here and move forward and push this on down the line. So move to accept Commissioner Yaki's recommendation.
I'll second.
Any discussion or question? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next item under new business is petition for bridge naming on the Union Decent Road for R. Freddie Smith. We had a petition that had been signed in the packet. I did a copy of
I
the
didn't have the
bylaw-
petition.
bylaws of the naming bridges, and that could be something else that we as a committee need to look at. But I think some of it needs to be cleared up. We got to make sure we follow the procedure, and that's down, but it probably needs to be a little more clearly stated. But basically, whoever wants to name a bridge or highway, they pick up a simple, basic request. Those request forms, I think, are held in the county mayor's office. So it starts there because you have to have a central place to pick up, start the procedure or process. The second thing, I think it is supposed to be submitted back to the Rules Committee, and then I guess it's discussed, debated, and talked about here, and there's certainly not any hurry. I mean, I'm saying I don't think things have to be done. We got this request last Tuesday, and that's here a week later. I think, sometimes you need to maybe have some time, longer than 7 days, to sort through this before we decide to vote on anything. And then, of course, if it is approved by our committee, then it is placed on the county agenda for vote. Of course, when you get to the rules, and we got one or two extra things. I think everybody got one or should have got one when we renamed the bridge for Jimmy Woodson. That's probably the first time the new commissioners were aware of it, and you certainly need to understand it. But basically, we looked at two things, and this came about with Mayor Eugene Ray and myself. Eugene had just been elected first county mayor, and we both served. He served on the Rules Committee for several years. I had served for 8. But anyhow, we felt that there was a need to have something written down. There were one or two situations where things were named, and I think it sort of went to position or power, and I didn't think either one of those were appropriate. So we did write some things down. Historical place sets alone. It's just what it means. Significant person is a little different because you can't get into, I think there's 3 areas mentioned, but they're not in any order there. I think probably the first one would be public service. I think it needs to be weighed probably as much as anything. And that's an example of that when we look at public services, like fee offices. I mean, if you've served in a fee office for, 3 or 4 or 5 election terms, that's pretty significant. And then we got other elected officials like ourselves here on the commission. If you've been elected to office, more than once, I would certainly think, or longer, then that's an example. Or a city councilman, because we're in the city district, it could be a request coming from there to name something. And then, of course, in public service, you got appointed positions. And some of the more important ones, and notwithstanding, but the planning commission, the election commission, the library board, the ag board, and there's various and sundry other things. But that is what public service means. It's, I don't know if it has to be an elected official, but it does have to be an appointed position and serving our public community here. Now, the second one is community service. Now, of course, most of the time you think about that is involvement with local charities. Are you do, and do you care about the Senior Citizen Center or Good Sam or the Soup Kitchen, which has just been going on for a few years, or Goodwill? And then you might expand community service to civic clubs. You know, have you been a leader in the various clubs, whether it's Kiwanis or Lions or Optimist or whatever? It can be any of those things. I think when you look at community service, then you're looking into those two areas of need, those other organizations and then civic clubs. And not only are you a member, are you a leader? Are you making a difference in those positions? It's important. We've turned down, I'm pretty sure, 4 or 5 people from not having things named for them because they didn't quite meet the criterion. But that's what we mean by community service. Now, military service is, many of them had military service. Some of them alone wanted to go through a military service, and there was nothing distinguished about it other than they served admirably, they got an honorable discharge, but nothing in there. There wasn't any awards or medals, and I don't know where that lengthens to, but in there it says meritorious service medal.
Might behoove you just actually read this one out right there.
Well, you can, and there's more than that in there.
I know.
I'm not going to read all of them.
Okay.
Purple Heart, if you were injured, or Medal of Honor, because we had one of those that we made note of. And not only that, are you presently active in the American Legion or with the Veterans Affairs? So, I mean, that is a varied thing, and I think it'd be good if you can get some of that within your service. And then there's private service or volunteer work that some people do through outreach programs. Commissioner Hooker's got a group together with the Homeless Task Force. That'd be a good example of that. You know, trying to serve your community on the Homeless Task Force. That's a perfect example. Or any other programs that's helping the poor or widows or orphans or anything like that is helpful. So I think that is the 4 areas, and, you know, you just have to weigh that. So we'll get some input. We do have the petition. I'll read it. It says, petition for bridge name on Unionville-Deason Road. R. Freddie Smith served in the U.S. Army for 2 years with distinguished service. He retired from the U.S. Postal Service after 33 years of public service. Freddie lived at the property the bridge crosses over for 50 years. He passed away August the 2nd, 2021. So I guess the question is, and we probably I'd need a little more information about his service in the military. Is there any distinguished? I know it says distinguished service, but are there any medals or awards or anything besides an honorable discharge? If we have to, they might want one, and it'd be good because a lot of times the children don't know really what all their father did, 20, 30 years before, whether it's in World War II, the Korean War, or the Vietnam War, which this was probably the Vietnam War. So, but that would be helpful because it does need, it needs to be distinguished service. It needs to be above and beyond the call of duty and just regular service and just a honorable discharge. And then the second one, we'll get comments from here, is there's some question here as to whether U.S. Postal Service, which that's honorable position, whether that would count as public service.
I'll make a motion to defer till we can maybe get some more information. Go back to it next month.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I'll make a
we
motion
can
to defer to next month.
we might, and if we can take
We
some
might
more
get some more information.
question and more information. It's whatever.
Well, could we have Commissioner Tony Smith here and the family? Maybe they would like to make a comment to any of this and see what their wishes are on this.
I'm not sure on his service. I know he was in the Army, I was in Vietnam, he was in the Army at the same time I was in, but now as far as the distinguished, I do not know. But on the postal service, he was a rural mail carrier for 33 years. The most important thing about this individual was his community service. He was a mechanic for the entire community. He kept their tractors, their hay equipment. He kept all of this running for everybody. If when I had a problem, he would park his farm equipment, go help them, get them going. He'd go back home. That is community service.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
This bridge is within rock throwing distance of the end of his driveway. Now, this is, in my opinion, this is a very sincere thing that needs to be done because it is very deserving.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I had the privilege of knowing Mr. Smith. I met him when I first moved here 20-something years ago. I knew he was a distinguished veteran. Any veteran, if you put on the uniform, you're a distinguished member of our society. He worked for the Postal Service, and I can't tell you how many times we went down there and he helped me with my tractor, he helped me with farm stuff, he's helped neighbors. This is a community servant. And I think when you look at how you name these bridges and honor people, we've laid out this criteria, and I think he meets all of them. I think he's done every single thing on here. No, he wasn't in the newspaper every day. No, he didn't get all these awards. This is the kind of people, everyday people, that do the everyday kind of thing that we need to say thank you for them, because they're very rare and hard to find. And I am honored that they have brought this to us, and I think we should move this out to the full commission. Mr. Freddie Smith was a wonderful person, and thank you, family members, for being here. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that Mr. Anderson has a motion on the floor to defer.
I'm gonna take it off, because what you just said to me, that speaks volumes right there. That you take your tractor to a man and your neighbors, and that's what we need more of in this community. I take it off.
Then I'll move we send it to the full commission with approval, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the next one is Standing Committee Membership Annual Review. I think we've got, I'll read it. The Rules and Legislative Committee, acting as a nominating committee, shall submit nominations for the Standing Committee positions to the Board of Commissioners, partially based on seniority and individual preference. All standing committees of the Board of Commissioners shall be elected annually by a majority of the Board of Commissioners at the January term of the board. Nominations are requested by the December 12th, 2023 Rules and Legislative Committee meeting. Yes, yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir. That's right. And then we make note of it, and then it's voted on in January. Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, we need to elect the chairperson and chairperson pro tem at that time too. So we're gonna move them all together. Right, my understanding currently is it would be all of those. If there's anyone to move or reaffirm your chairs or update your chairs, and the pro tem. Right, which would include also chairman of the commission, chair and pro temp, although we are going to be looking at a correction for the future because of the setback. But currently, that is how it reads.
So if anybody, Mr. Chairman, if anybody wants to move in a committee, this committee to this, they come to this committee and make the request through our chairman. The chairman brings it to our attention. We discuss it at this point, and this committee then will send that up to the floor. But at the time, at the floor, then we vote on it at the floor, and another name could come up. Is that how we do it?
Yes.
Okay. So if anybody wants to move, anybody wants to change, now's the time to make that move so we can get everyone situated, correct?
Absolutely. We can take them right now if they want to submit them. But it will be approved next month. Okay, any questions or discussion concerning that item? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, is any other business to come before? Okay,
No, I would just, if you get to, when you get to
Mayor?
announcements. I got
yes,
you.
sir, go right ahead.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, Christmas parade's December the 2nd, I believe it's at 4:00. And we mentioned that the other day. We have made arrangements to have a tree lighting on November the 30th at 6:00 up here. And the Chamber of Commerce will be the point person and do a lot of the push out on that. But they're going to have some carolers and some things like we've done before. So thank you, Commissioner Epperson, for helping me to get reorientated and see what other resources we had to get it done. So they're looking to do that.
I'll try to spread the word.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll push out too. Of course, Thanksgiving will be closed Thursday and Friday of this week for that holiday. Chick-fil-A's grand opening is December the 7th. All right, and then the holiday mixer, and I think we're going to miss that, is going on right now. Started at 5 o'clock till 7:30 tonight. Okay.
Mayor,
7. Okay, I'm sorry.
what is the parade route now? Do you know on the Christmas parade what that route is? Does anybody know what the route total is?
Has it
Mark,
changed?
anybody?
Commissioner Anderson, it's the same. We line up on Lane Parkway. We come down and come around the square, and it
Okay.
ends at the celebration grounds. Right there at the
Same
old
route
handy
we've
dandy.
always done, nothing's changed.
Same route. And
Okay.
just a quick reminder for all of our trucking companies and everything, we shut this city in half. Nobody crosses the bridge at that point. And we try to, I know David and I, we reach out to our trucking companies, Tyson's, Morelli, all the people who move freight, and give them a courtesy call and let them know, hey, it shuts down and you're in half, so.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, I think Nearest Green Distillery has December 4th. Their tree lighting, I think, takes place then. And for those of you who've worked on this for so long, all of us on this commission have, I finally saw a construction trailer move out to TCAT, and I saw fences going up. So I think
Finally.
love's long last, we're going to have some movement out there on building the TCAT. So.
Good.
Tree lighting is Friday night after Thanksgiving, 4 o'clock, when people start parking. They would like for you to go online and register that you're coming.
It's huge.
Yes, last year we had 5,000.
You don't have to worry about me.
Big.
Tours are full.
Any other announcements? Any other business? Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, so moved.